All right, so hello world is pretty boring. So let's go with a more realistic example here. And what we want to look at is how NPM can actually help us by using code bases that have already been created for us out there. And one of those code bases is the request. So let's pull that up real quick. So if we go to requests node.js. All right, so here's this request library, and this is actually what I wanted to show you. There's quite a bit of information in here, but all these different files and everything are what makes this project work. So somebody's already done a tremendous amount of work for us, and we're able to just use that by simply installing this. So we're going to look at how we install that code base and be able to use it from within Node. That way we can request a web page and actually get its content using Node.js. So in order to do that, we need to go ahead and install requests using npm. So let's go ahead and do that first. So let's go to our command prompt where we have Node installed, and here we're going to go ahead and say npm install request. In fact, I'm going to actually skip out of that because I do not want this to be installed globally. So let's go ahead and say, you know what, for our project here, if we were ever going to distribute it, we're going to do --save. And what this does is it actually says that, hey, this is a dependency of this project. So if you ever created a project that you were going to distribute to somebody else and say, hey, check out my new project, and if you want to scrape the web, just use these commands that I've created. If those commands use requests, it means that you have to have requests on that person's machine in order for them to use your code base. So by saying --save, we're saying, hey, this request project is a dependency of our project. So our project is called Node Tutorial. It was what we named our project. We couldn't have named it anything we wanted. But if we go to distribute that and somebody else installs it, they have to have requests on there if we're using it within our code base. So that's why with npm you can install things globally, which means that it's just in one location on the file and all the different projects and everything share it. Or you can do the better option, which is install things locally, and it's local just to that project. So what I mean by that is that when you install something locally, the directory from where you executed the command, it's going to create a new node modules folder. So let's look with our Explorer here. And if you look, now this node modules here, npm actually added that. You're probably like, holy crap, what is all this stuff? All this stuff is actually dependencies of the request project that we just installed. Because otherwise, this code that all these people just wrote wouldn't work if all those projects and everything were not installed. So they made it a dependency as well. And the reason why is if you go to the package.json, you look in here, you can see all these dependencies. And it says, hey, for this project to work, all this stuff has to be there. Now for us, our project's a little bit different. We say, okay, that is a dependency, and if we look at it from within Visual Studio Code, you can see we have one dependency, request. But guess what? Request has all those dependencies that we just saw in our node modules folder. So all these dependencies. So that's how you get into this dependency tree kind of thing where you install one thing and it installs a million things because each one of those things has its own set of dependencies and everything. So don't be shocked by that, but that is the modern way of Node.js and the world that we live in. All right, so now that we've installed that package, we should now be able to use it. And in order to be able to use it, we need to use something called require. And require is Node.js's special ability to be able to import modules. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a module name called request, and we're going to say it equals require. And then inside the parentheses here, we're going to say request, which is the name of the project that we installed. All right, and then in order to use it, let's go ahead and say request, and we're going to request https www.hipstercode.com, and then we have to pass a callback function. And this is where Node.js can get a little confusing sometimes because this function right here is all contained right here. It says, hey, after you request this, then execute this function. And this function actually has arguments that are going to be passed in. The first one is error. So if there's ever an error, that's what error is going to be populated as. Then there's the actual response, which is our response to the to the web page, and then we're going to pass in the body as well. So let's go ahead and log all of these things. We're going to say console.log error, and let's put a space here, and then a comma, and the second argument can actually be the error object, so we can see what it is. We're going to do the same thing for the response, so we're going to say response. All right, and then we're going to do the final thing for the body. All right, so now we have these three things that we're going to be console logging. Let's go back to our command prompt here and execute node.js. So we're going to run node index.js. And here you can see all this information was printed out. So just like that, node.js actually went across the internet and downloaded all this stuff, which is pretty cool, like all this stuff. So if we go all the way up here, you can see this part right here. We should be able to see our statement that we have. Wow, this thing's humongous. So you can see error is null because there was no error. Response is all this stuff, and this is a built-in JavaScript object for Node.js, and you can see it has all this like core stuff about like encoding, encrypted. There's event systems here. A lot of this stuff is way over your head for most of anything that you're going to need to do with Node.js getting started, unless you're like really like a hardcore hacker trying to hack the middle of that project. Like, you're not going to have to know about a lot of this stuff.